province of North Sumatra has the unique distinction of being home to one of 8 great ape species in the world, the newly named Tapanuli orangutan, first classified in 2017 and distinctly noted by their bright orange-red fur. As is the case with many animals in Sumatra, they are critically threatened, with an estimated population as low as 760 to 800 individuals, and an increasingly fragmented habitat. The Tapanuli orangutan faces urgent challenges to their survival. One such challenge is the proposal of a hydroelectric dam right in the Batang Toru forest of North Sumatra, the only known region that the Tapanuli orangutans exist. Should this project go ahead, it could mean devastation for not just the Tapanuli orangutan, but 23 other threatened species. My name is Mike DiGirolamo, your host for Mongabay Explores, a special podcast series from Mongabay.com's global team, where I speak with experts from the field working to protect the critically threatened forests and animals of Sumatra. Join me bi-weekly as I dive into the unique beauty and key issues of this one-of-a-kind landscape and the people working to protect it. This week, I spoke with Mongabay reporter Hans Nicholas Young and biologist and Tapanuli orangutan expert Dr. Puji Rianti from the Bogor Agricultural University. I asked Hans and Puji about the unique qualities and habitat vulnerabilities of the orangutan, why they were only recently classified, and what threatens their survival. While Sumatra is a land of great complexity, both politically and physically, there are clear implications for the well-being of the orangutan and other species in the face of a $1.6 billion proposed hydroelectric dam, implications which the project's main developers dispute. Hans explained not just the environmental implications of the project, but the series of events that has led to the current status of uncertainty surrounding its future. Mired in controversy, the project's development has been called into question by activists, leading to the reluctance of funders and faces possible delays. It's a situation that, as Hans puts it, makes one wonder why. But thus far, there appear to be more questions than answers.
So my name is Puji Rianti. Hello, and I am one of the researchers actually for orangutan in Indonesia. Now I'm working as a lecturer and researcher in IPB University. So I'm teaching in biology actually, and I'm working with the orangutan. It's actually start since 2010, let's say, doing my PhD actually. So yeah, since 2010, I'm trying to know about the orangutan a little bit better. And then I take the evolutionary genetics in orangutan, focusing in Sumatran orangutan.
Genetics, as it turns out, would be one of many reasons that led to the classification of the Tapanuli orangutan, which Puji and her team worked to identify.
It's not like we discovered the species, The individual, the population is actually already there. But, before 2017, we know the species as Sumatran orangutan or Pongo abelii. So that's what we know. Much curiosity with this population since not much scientists working with Sumatran orangutan. Everybody seems like, focusing themselves with the Bornean orangutan. So we decide to look more close to this population. And then we start, at least my group, start with genetics population, which other also doing some behavior and stuff. So from this genetic population, my colleague found out that when he tried to, make a data, and see it in the phylogenetic tree and analyzing it, something's quite unique happened in the population of Sumatran orangutan. So this population, this small population on the south of Lake Toba, it's just, appears to be always stand out alone. Looks different. So then I also continue the study by using more samples, taking more samples from, the whole population of the Sumatran orangutans. Also adding more samples from this Batang Toru population, and then we do works with with other kind of marker for genetics. So we're using mitochondria, we're using Y chromosome, we're using also with the autosomal loci, nucleus DNA, and then the result also always stand out alone. Always this population always looks different. And then it's continuing until we try to making a confirmation trying to find good samples and then using it for analyzing with the whole genome of mitochondria DNA. And then it's confirmed, it's still standing alone. So then from that, we look this population as something really unique. Yeah, it might be a species, like a different species from the Sumatran orangutan. But then, it's just from genetics data, right? Sometimes people will say, this is just genetics. It's not really strong. You need more proof. You need more evidence. So we also asking our colleagues to do like the morphology analysis, from the skull, and also like some behavior data comparing with others population, how it is. And then all the data is just, it's supporting what we found. We proposed in 2017 that this species need to be different from Pongo abeliae. Yeah, so that's why then we rename the species actually. Yeah, so this new species is actually just a rename to make it new because based on all the evidence that we found until that time, giving a different characteristic. Yeah, so now then we know it as a Tapanuli orangutan or Pongo tapanuliensis.
The Tapanuli orangutan is no stranger to scarcity. Unique amongst orangutans, it has the ability to subsist on vegetation above 2,000 feet when lowland food becomes scarce. However, their only known habitat is in the Batang Toru ecosystem.
That is also one thing that is so remarkable with this species. So we know that orangutan is a lowland habitat species. They need swamp, river, to live close by, and the forests that give them lots of like meaty fruits because they are the frugivore, they eating fruits and they love this meaty fruits. So usually this kind of vegetation, they only live in such a lowland area. But then this population that live until like 1,200 or 1,300 meters above sea level is quite unique because the differences of the vegetation, of course, is also different. This is something that really amazing for us. But then it also means that this orangutan, this specific population of orangutan in Tapanuli is, like the kind of population that survive. Yeah, so they are like the survival of all that can adapt themselves into a new habitat, into a new source of food, things like that. So, they can survive. So they can still live. But in normal way, it's actually in Tapanuli, there are places also that actually lower than this high altitude. And in normal time when fruits availability is a lot in this lowland area, they actually go down, so they are living still in the lowland area. But then when the food's scarce, when food availability is not there, and then they are like just trying to keep move on and live, and then they have some type of food. So we found that in our research station, which quite high in center of Tapanuli, so we found that the orangutan in there eating this kind of small fruits from Kasuarise. So it's like the pine tree vegetation, with really small fruits. So it's not even like fruit. I can see it's like just like a seedling, seedlings. But then they eat that. So it might be like a fallback source of food for them when they cannot find, any other food source. Then they can still eat. This is really remarkable and important to see. How a species can really adapt in their lifetime to survive and to be, still exist.
The orangutan is also what Puji describes as an umbrella species, or a species of animal whose existence protects or benefits many other plant and animal species indirectly.
The orangutan themselves, they actually need a very large habitat, a very large home range, for them to find food. And with the scarcity of food source, of course, if you have like a fragmentation of habitat and so on, it can be a threat, right, for them, because then it's not easy for them to find food. But it's not just about, like finding food and how can maybe like also they find their mates, yeah, because of course they need to reproduce, to have an offspring, to continuing their species, yeah. But orangutan is also an umbrella species, which, they themselves is actually helping the balance of the forest because they are the frugivore. They eat fruits, and then when they eat fruits, they actually also helping us to seedling many kind of tree species as well. Yeah, and then these tree species, of course, it's not just for the orangutans, right? Everybody can use it. Everybody, all flora, yeah, all fauna, the mushroom, and so on. They need this. So they are like the natural balancing creatures in the forest when their existence will help for other biodiversity existence as well. When the habitat is taking for other use, yeah, it's supposed to be like a bit wiser, and it still need to guarantee the sustainability actually, yeah, for the habitat.
But more than just their protection helping the habitat they dwell in, Puji says they are a unique study in behavior, giving us humans a unique chance to even learn more about ourselves.
The orangutan is also something that as a species that we can learn more to know about human. Yeah, because we can learn about the orangutan to know about how human cultures actually evolve. Yeah, because most of their behavior is not that different from us, so we can learn how how they survive, yeah, how they need to like migrate, and then finding a new individuals, how can they accept these new individuals for let's say, yeah, for like that. So it's like how when human do this migration, and the local people accepting this foreigner to live together, so we can learn that from the orangutans. And then others also, our relationship with other human, our relationship in the family, we can also learn that from the orangutan because it's so close with us, yeah, how they behave and so on. We might find the mystery of human being itself, how we are right now. We can learn that from this orangutan.
So I asked Puji to clarify how many of them precisely were left, and she stressed that the estimate previously given of 760 to 800 is likely overdue for an update.
Yeah, it's around 800, but then also there are some other scientists that say it might be around 600, 700. So we're not really sure for now because the population study is actually still, it's around 5 years ago. So we want to have a new result again. So that's why some of my colleagues, I think Suchi also lead this study, and also some friends also from SOCP, from Paneco, also having this study. So now we are trying to get more maybe details, yeah, with the population, how many they are in the forest, because with the orangutan it's not really easy to counting the individuals, right? We barely found them like directly seeing them in the wild. So sometimes we using either with just counting the nests, or with the help of the advanced technology like using drone, yeah, to find the hits and so on, so we can count the individual.
Further complicating their survival prospects is the sheer length of time in between pregnancies that the typical female orangutan must take, and the age at which they must reach before they can conceive.
For orangutan, this is actually something that thing is where we can say it's common for the high primates species, including human. So orangutan will need like around 8-9 years between the birth, because usually the infant will live with their mother, yeah, around these years, yeah. So until like 8 years they will live with their mothers. They learn how to find food, how to get along with others individuals. The mom will teach them, how to make or how to build nests and so on. So it is really crucial for the orangutans to teach their infant, their offspring, how to live before they will find another mate, or get pregnant again. So that is actually something common, and especially in Sumatra. So it's like that.
So, with such a fragile habitat that supports a slow-breeding mammal already low in numbers, things become more complex in the shadow of a proposed hydroelectric dam, which has been through an environmental review process documenting its threat. I spoke with Mongabay reporter Hans Nicholas Young about this in depth.
My name is Hans Nicholas Young, and I'm a writer for Mongabay.com, and I'm based in Jakarta, Indonesia, and I've been with Mongabay for the past 3 years. And my work is mainly focused on Indonesia on issues such as palm oil, infrastructure, and climate change. The Batang Toru Dam is a proposed hydroelectric dam project, and it is located in Batang Toru, which is an ecosystem in North Sumatra province in Indonesia. And the project is estimated to cost $1.6 billion. It is expected to generate 510 megawatts electricity, and it will make it one of the largest hydropower plants in Indonesia. And it is estimated to be equal to 1/11th of the country's existing hydropower capacity. The project developer, which is a company called NSHE, North Sumatra Hydroelectric Energy, they argue that this project is essential to meet Indonesia's renewable energy goals. It was first proposed back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. It was proposed by both the local government and the company.
But in addition to this, the project is now being championed by the Joko Widodo administration in an aggressive energy infrastructure plan.
As you know, the project was proposed before Joko Widodo came into power. So he was sworn in as president in 2014. So this project has actually planned before the administration of President Joko Widodo. But after Joko Widodo came into power, he took this plan and made it one of his national strategic projects, one of his priority, because he has a plan to deliver 35,000 megawatts of electricity throughout the country. And this is one of the most ambitious electricity plan project in the world, if I'm not mistaken. This will come into this whole overarching ambitious plan of delivering that extra power to Indonesia.
But what precisely is the cost of bringing that power to Indonesia and Sumatra? And moreover, is it even necessary? Hans says that alternatives such as solar exist and may be even more beneficial, but are not being pursued.
Many experts have said that, it's actually better for the government to develop solar power and wind power instead of hydro, because hydro, it might have unintended consequences because some of them are located in fragile ecosystem. So that's why experts have suggested the government to move away, to focus on more environmentally friendly renewable projects rather than hydro. From what I see, even though, there has been a lot of reports, indicating that we have this huge potential of solar in the country, the government hasn't really been serious in tapping into that opportunity because, a lot of reasons, because the electricity sector in the country is controlled by only a single entity, which is a state-owned company called PLN. So basically, this company has whole monopoly on the whole thing. So if this company is not keen on supporting solar power, then it will be difficult for developers to come into the country's solar sector.
After the project was announced, it began a review process to ascertain its environmental impact, which Indonesia calls an AMDAL. So, NSHE hired a company to draft this document with the help of forestry researcher Unresolved, who found that the dam would not only threaten the orangutan, but 23 different endangered species.
So Professor Unresolved, he was asked to help in drafting the document for the environmental impact analysis. So he was tasked to conduct a study on the biodiversity of the project's area, the forest, to see which species is there. And so he found that there were actually a number of critically endangered species located in the project's area. I believe the total number was 23, if I'm not mistaken. Among the list, there were orangutans and Sumatran tigers. Basically, he found, there's a number of endangered species in the project's area. This is sort of ring the alarm for the project's developer to actually come up with a plan to mitigate the risks of the projects to these species.
But 23 is not the number that actually ended up on the document submitted to the Indonesian government. That number of endangered species was reduced to 15, and without Unresolved's review, or his signature, which appeared on the document without his consent.
It is true because Professor Unresolved, who was asked to draft the AMDAL document, he found out that his signature was included in the revision of the AMDAL document. So he was involved in the drafting process of the old document, but he said that he wasn't involved in the revision process, in the drafting of the new document. But he found out that his signature was still in the new document. So that's, one of the scandal surrounding the project, which is that Unresolved's signature might be forged in the AMDAL document. And this document is really crucial to the whole project because it is needed for the local government to issue an environmental permit for the process, which is, obviously needed for the project to go through.
This spurred public outcry, in particular by notable environmental NGO Walhi, who challenged the granting of the permit.
They granted the permit, and it was subsequently challenged by this NGO called Walhi, which is the country's biggest green NGO. So they filed a lawsuit against this environmental permit, I believe back in 2018 or 19, I forgot. But they did that. They challenged it at court, and it was subsequently rejected by the court.
Unresolved himself attempted to intervene, physically presenting a copy of the document to the local police station, which dismissed his claim, asking for him to provide evidence from the original document, which was in possession of the NSHE. Additionally, a lawyer by the name of Goldfield Siregar, who was an activist at Walhi, began a legal process to challenge the granting of the permit, and he was subjected to a battery of threats from still unverified sources, which is a trend that has been experienced by more activists than just Goldfield.
Throughout this whole controversies surrounding this project, those who have criticizing vocally the project, they have been pressured. They have come under great pressure. The source of the pressure is not verified yet. There have been talks that this is coming from the company, from the project developer, and might be also from the government. But I think this is an attempt to silence the critics of the dam. And this pressure, they come in the form of defamation charges, visits from security officials, and warnings to foreign researchers that they might lose their right to work in Indonesia.
And it just so happens that one activist in particular lost his life under circumstances that have raised speculation, and that activist was Goldfield.
Last year, I believe it was in October 2019, one of the staff of Walhi North Sumatra, he passed away. And the police said it was because of an accident, motorcycle accident. But, there have been doubts over the police claim because this activist, his name is Goldfield, he had received many threats after he voiced his critics on the dam. He was also instrumental in bringing the lawsuit against the project's environmental permit to the court. So because he was a lawyer, the speculation is that because he was so instrumental in bringing all these legal charges against the project, there might be people who are not happy with that. The threats, they were actually quite serious. He even received death threats. Anonymous people calling him at night, calling his house and showing up in front of his house, taking pictures of his office in North Sumatra, things like that.
While it was claimed he died in a motorcycle accident, the wounds on his body in the autopsy revealed that they were inconsistent with such a trauma.
He was riding a motorcycle and then he was found badly injured on the street in North Sumatra, in Medan, the capital of North Sumatra, and he passed away shortly after that, after he was taken to the hospital. And the police said that it was a pure accident because he was drunk at the time. But there were some strange circumstances surrounding the incident. People said that he might be killed, because of the bruises on his body. There were no scratches that indicated that, he was actually killed in a motorcycle accident. So the injuries that he sustained on his bodies didn't appear to come from a motorcycle accident, but it appeared to come from like an assault.
Even before the scandal and the public outcry involving the permit, the project has had concerns voiced by reluctant potential funders, including the World Bank IFC, whom the NSHE originally approached. But they eventually distanced themselves from the project. Despite these concerns, the Bank of China ended up throwing in their support.
They actually approached IFC and ADB, Asian Development Bank, first before they approached Bank of China. But both IFC and ADB, they eventually distanced themselves from the project because of environmental concerns. I don't think they issued public statement on this issue, but from the information that I gathered, they did that because of environmental concerns. This also applies to Bank of China, because back in March 2019, Bank of China actually made a promise to review this project. They actually acknowledged that there have been concerns expressed by environmentalists.
The Bank of China has yet to make a public statement about these concerns. I asked Hans and Puji to describe to me what these concerns were and how it affects the Tapanuli orangutan. Chief among these concerns are not just the area the dam itself will occupy, but the impact it will have on the larger Batang Toru ecosystem. The dam lies at a crucial point of connectivity between two blocks of land, which would further fragment an already fragile ecosystem.
Because this project, even though their footprint it might not be big, this project will only occupy 122 hectares of areas along the Batang Toru River in the South Tapanuli district. But experts have voiced concerns that it will impact a much larger area. So it's not a matter of the footprint. It is a question of whether this small footprint would actually affect a larger area. And according to IUCN, they said that the impact on the orangutan could still be devastating due to the location of the project. So it's not a matter of the footprint, but it's also a matter of the location of the project, because the project lies at a key location for connectivity between the orangutans subpopulations, because the orangutan, the habitat has been fragmented, split up across three separate blocks. There's a west block, east block, and south block. So because of this, because the dam will be located in this corridor that connects the south and the west block, if I'm not mistaken, it will jeopardize any efforts to reconnect these separate blocks.
Puji describes that even efforts to artificially reproduce connectivity really aren't the same, and can even backfire, causing human familiarity with orangutans, which could increase conflict between the two and put the lives of orangutans in further jeopardy.
If you try to be an objective or seeing it, both this actually can be true, because what they say is the end product of the whole plan. Yeah, in the end, it is they only gonna use a small part, of course, but to get to build the things and to bring all this for the transportation of the machine and so on, that can impact the continuity, the stability of the habitat, and not yet also with with the river and the habitat and the, let's say, the fauna that lives the fish and so on in the river itself. They try, they said they try to have like the nursery, also the holding place for all the creatures and so on. But I don't know, it's still going on, it's still happening. I mean, of course, all of us trying to get a different approach and so on to find the good things that can happen from this project. But yeah, so. And for the orangutan itself, they try to make like a bridge, for the creatures or the orangutans and others that living on the tree, that they can walk through. Yeah, but then of course it still need study to see if this is gonna work or not. If the bridge that they built and so on, it will use by the orangutan, and especially also to make this orangutan still wild. Yeah, because more and more what we see is actually because of the open land and human around the area, the orangutan is more and more no human, as just as another species that they can live with together. I mean, together in terms of side by side. But it's not really good for the orangutans to getting no human and be more friendly, because if that happen, then it can change their natural behavior, and when it's changed, they might will go even furthermore to human area, to the housing, to the maybe like human garden and so on, and that's not what we want.
The impact concerns don't end with the orangutans, but also include the local community occupying the region, and there are significant concerns not just of water availability, but of quality.
If we're talking about the impact on the local community, we need to see it from a full perspective, because this project has a upstream and downstream level. So if I'm not mistaken, proponents of this project, usually they will focus on the impact on the upstream level. So the impact on the local community who lives, around the projects, the actual dam. But they kind of neglect the impact on the local communities that live in the downstream level, because this project is located along the Batang Toru River, right? So, activists said that the impact might not be that big in the upstream level, but it will surely affect the local communities who live on the river downstream. According to the company's document, this dam will have a runoff system, which is basically it will close for 16 hours, and then the sluice gate will be open for 8 hours a day, in order to build up all this water pressure. So they will save water for 16 hours, and then they will release all this pressure in order for the water pressure to be strong enough to actually move the turbine for 8 hours. So it is feared that the local communities who live in the downstream level, they might be flooded, for 8 hours, and then they might not have access to water for 16 hours.
And a nearby gold mine doesn't seem to be putting anyone at ease either.
There's a nearby gold mine in the area, so it's located not far from the project, right? So according to the company's document, there's a plan for this gold mine's waste to be released at the same time as the dam's sluice gate. I think the plan is to discharge this gold mine's waste by utilizing this dam. I think that's also another concern. What will happen if the dam actually ruptured? We might see toxic water because of the waste from the nearby gold mine.
All of these impact concerns and campaigns launched by NGOs reached PLN, the state-owned utility, and even they acknowledged the funding of the project was now in jeopardy due to activist efforts and environmental concerns, and due to the environmental concerns that the Bank of China had voiced.
PLN is the state-owned electricity company. Indonesian, so it's owned by the Indonesian government. It basically has a monopoly over electricity in Indonesia. So every projects have to go through them. And so basically they oversee all electricity projects in Indonesia. So this company recently, acknowledged that this project might be delayed from its original deadline of 2022 to 2025. Yeah, so it might be delayed for 3 years. And one of the reasons why is because of Bank of China, actually. So PLN said that Bank of China had decided to withdraw from the project that decision was based on environmental concerns. I believe this is the first confirmation that we got in regards to the funding issue of Bank of China, because I already heard that they decided to back off from the project, but they have never actually issued a public statement on it. The public doesn't really know the progress of the review that they promised that they will do on the project.
So I asked both Hans and Puji, why then? Why this dam here and now? And they answered me by mirroring the same question. They were not sure why. Hans pointed out that there was already enough electricity generated in North Sumatra to support most of the population, and there were currently 80 different power plants already in development just in North Sumatra.
The whole argument that supports this project is that the region of North Sumatra, where the project is located, doesn't have enough power. Even though it might have enough power now, but in the future, because of the growing economy, growing population, then it might not have stable and sufficient electricity to power the economy. But earlier this year, there's a report that's coming out saying that this region doesn't actually need this project, because one, it is already almost fully electrified, with nearly 69% of the population having basic and stable access to electricity. And second is because even though in the future there might be an increase in demand for electricity, but there's already a number of other projects in the region. There are 80 other power plants in the pipeline. 80, yes. Yeah. I mean, this is according to the report. They identified 80 other power plants ranging from geothermal to coal to mini hydro plant for the region. And they say that this would, basically render the Barang Toru hydropower plant unnecessary. This is just for the region of North Sumatra, not even the whole island, just this one province.
At the end of the day, it's the location of the project that is driving the concern, and monitoring of the project thus far has already found impacts happening to the orangutan, prompting the government to order the NSHE to review the original AMDAL.
The main concern over this project is because of its location, because it's located in the key habitat of the orangutan. But we have actually had some reports on orangutans, fleeing from the project's area because of the noise, heavy equipments, because they already started construction of the dam. So these orangutans, they are highly sensitive to noise. Basically, they flee from the project area to nearby plantations. And I believe the first report of such incidences occurred in 2018. It was detected by the government, by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. So they decided to deploy a team to the ground to monitor the impact of the project construction to the orangutan. And the result of the monitoring is that, yes, there is indeed an impact of the project on the orangutan, as shown by these orangutans, fleeing from the project area. They went to local plantations and they built nests there. So that's how the government came to the conclusion that this project has a impact on the orangutan, because they found some of these orangutans' nests in locals' plantation. By the end of it, the ministry gave an order to PTNSHE to review the AMDAL document, which I believe, I'm not sure whether they have completed the revision or not.
Even the IUCN has called for an independent environmental impact study to be conducted, which the NSHE has pushed back on, saying the information they have is already rigorous enough.
Because they said that they already have, adequate analysis. If I'm not mistaken, on top of the AMDAL, they said that they had done this process called ESHIA, which stands for Environmental, Social, and Health Impact Assessment. They say that this is actually more robust than AMDAL, more scientifically rigid. They have published this document on their website. And if I'm not mistaken, they mention about orangutans in this document.
But amidst growing concerns, including those of the Bank of China, the dam's future is now uncertain, possibly delayed or cancelled altogether, leaving researchers and reporters still wondering what justification for it exists, if at all.
I know they said that it's impossible to have zero impact on the orangutan, but why? That's what I keep asking myself, why does this project has to be located in this area where there's, the Tapanuli orangutan, and we know that they only live there, and their number is already below 800. The latest number is 760. So it's really, really, it's like, how to say it? They're teetering on the brink of extinction. And I think just one small mistake, it might be enough, to send them to extinction. And I don't think this is small. I mean, this is a hydropower dam, even though the company said this is relatively small compared to other dams in the country. But still, from what we know, hydropower dam is not as environmentally friendly as being thought before. There has been cases where dams have broken out, have collapsed due to seismic activities, and etc. And this dam is actually located along fault lines. The concerns are pretty much justified, but the arguments, I don't think they have been justified.
Puji believes that it's possible to have the dam, but that projects such as this need more rigorous proof and justification that they can be sustainably done. But more importantly, she wants more people to examine the very way we humans interact with the environment and to question whether or not this is the direction we want to head in.
Us as human, we are usually feel that we are the superior on Earth. We are like, everything, it has to be for us, for our continuity of the species to live and so on. But come on, we are already like 7 billion and even more, because the growth is just not stop. And we're taking so much sources in the world, and it has to be balanced actually. So why don't we just realizing ourselves, where is actually our part on Earth? Who are we actually, and what can we do? Because we can living together with all the, this wildlife, this endemic species, the flora, the fauna, and so on. Just if we, we do what we need to do, not too much, not taking too much, not exploiting too much, and live together. So with this case in the orangutan also, how many individuals that they can survive in the wild and so on? I guess it doesn't matter how many they are, but if we can just realize that they are very important in the world, and their part is also really important in the world, as well as other flora and fauna, of course. The world can just work as it is, and of course, now we're also facing this climate change, right? This climate change issue where us as human is the main driving of this climate change because of our lifestyle, actually, right? Because of how we live, we don't really care about others. We just care about ourselves. So maybe if we can start, working together, we don't have to work alone, but we can work together and, realize what we can do to make the world better. That can be great. But I think it's also everybody's dreams, right?
I want to thank Puji for her contributions and research on the Tapanuli orangutan, and to Hans for his reporting on the Batang Toru Dam, and to both for contributing to this episode. Mongabay Explores is an ongoing podcast series diving into environmental stories from around the globe. Be sure to check out the previous episode in this series, which covers all of Sumatra's deforestation drivers. Watch for a new edition of Mongabay Explores every 2 weeks, in between episodes of our flagship podcast, the Mongabay Newscast. Special projects like this are made possible by our Patreon supporters. Download our new app for Apple and Android devices to gain fingertip access to all our new shows and all our previous episodes. We also ask that if you enjoyed this show, please tell a friend. That's the best way to help expand our reach and keep growing. Mongabay is a non-profit news provider, so we rely on the generosity of our listeners, readers, and friends. To add your support, head to patreon.com/Mongabay to learn more. Keep up with all of Mongabay's news from Nature's Frontline at mongabay.com, or get updates via Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, where our handle is @Mongabay. Thank you once again, and we'll be back soon with another episode of Mongabay Explores.